Tonight's episode is going to be on blue lobsters and their trouble. Alright, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about blue crayfish, Florida blue crayfish, I guess they are, Blucifer.
Well, Blucifer is the name of her.
Blucifer is the name of my, well, was the name of my blue crayfish.
Yeah.
He did pass away just recently. We don't know why. He was doing fine. That morning he was literally trying to escape the tank.
Again.
Well, he doesn't really try to escape. He just tries to climb up and see what's going on. He was very nosy, but we'll talk a little bit about them. But no, he did. He was playing, and then an hour later I went over there and he was passed. So I don't really know what was going on. I had him for about 2 years. They only live 2 to 4 years normally. We don't know how old he was when I got him. He was not super small, but he molted several times.
Yeah.
So.
But we also don't. I'm assuming that he's like most fish, and he continues to grow throughout his life.
Right. So we don't really know how old he was. So I mean, but he had a good life. We're gonna talk.
Spoiled rotten.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about blue crayfish. If you want to get one, they're really neat. They're much more exciting than the red ones, it seems. Okay. They're all kind of dicks from what I've noticed.
All right, so why don't you start by explaining why you got Blucifer in the first place?
Okay, so we had gone to a chain pet store once, and there was a blue crayfish there, or blue lobster they called them, and it was attacking chasing my finger, and trying to kill it. And I thought
through the glass.
Through the glass. I thought that was. No, I'm not that brave. Have you met me? No. But it was chasing my. And it was just the coolest thing, and I almost bought it. And at the last minute, I didn't, and I regretted. I went back, and someone had already bought it. So then we were at a different store a couple weeks later, and we saw him. We saw Blucifer, and he did the exact same thing. The red ones were avoiding people, trying to get away.
The white ones the same way.
And the white one's the same way, and the blue one's like, fuck you, I'm going to kill you. Which, Sandy can't resist that kind of fish, apparently, that kind of animal, because I bought it.
You like the bad ones?
I like the bad ones. He was just funny. So I brought him home. We named him Blucifer because the first day, he killed the fish. Second day, I don't think he killed the second fish, but he did catch the second fish when it was on its way out. Because it was doing poorly. So I think he was moving slow enough that he was able to grab it.
Yeah, so he was just showing off.
He was very proudly carrying it around the tank. He wasn't eating it or cutting it. He just very proudly carrying it around the tank in his claw. And then we decided if he killed one more fish, he was going into fish jail. We had actually set up a 10-gallon tank, 20-gallon tank, and we were going to put him in fish jail. He was not going to have any fish in the tank with him because he was like a little murderer. He never killed another fish. He never even went after, other than Edsel,
There was Edsel.
Edsel was a.
Well, he still is.
He is. He's a rhino pleco. He was probably about 6. How long was Edsel? Edsel was 3 inches back then.
About 4 inches.
4 inches, yeah, in the tank. So he's much bigger than Blucifer, and they had a love-hate relationship, and it was just a hate.
I was about to say, where's the love in this?
Blucifer used to stalk him and try to get his tail, and eventually I think Edsel got tired of it and whacked him. So then Blucifer would hide in the because when I took Edsel out of the tank, Blucifer became very active again. He would climb up things. He didn't really necessarily try to escape, but they do. From what I understand from others, they are an escape artist. They like to get out. They can breathe air for a while, so they do escape. He never made it out of the tank, but he would climb up the plants. He would climb up the filter. He was constantly doing stupid stuff like that, trying to, the whole tank belonged to him.
Yeah, so you definitely, if you get a blue lobster or a crayfish of any type, you're going to want to have a tight fit lid.
A tight lid, and you also have to have enough. They have to have a 10-gallon tank is, from what I understand, is too small. They have to have room to roam. So a 20 is minimum, is from what I was told.
Okay.
Just even for one. If you wanted to have 2, it's not always a good idea. They're usually okay if you have a 55 like we had. I just didn't want more than 1 because they do kill the fish if they can. If they can catch them, they're going to kill them. So there was a lot of fish I couldn't put in the tank. There were several that I wanted to try out that were slow movers, and I couldn't. The guppies were fast enough to get away from him for the most part once they realized he was there.
Yeah, the Corys
the Corys would tease him. The Corys would literally sit there and wait until he got right up on them, and right as he went to move on them, they would take off. They thought it was fun. He eventually gave up to even chasing them.
Yeah.
But no, he was a handful all the time, and he could literally go from one end of the tank. Just so you're aware, when you try to pick him up with a net. They aren't friendly, happy things. Like, they're not those fish you could scoop up. If you're not fast, they're not only going to get out of the net, but they're going to go from one side of the 55-gallon tank to the other side with one jump. Like literally, he would push off and all the way across. You just shoot across so fast, and if you hadn't seen it, you wouldn't believe it could happen. How fast he could move.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, so they're very quick. They eat, regular food. They eat Pleco wafers. I think we told you the story about how he was feeding the catfish.
Yeah.
With the Pleco wafers.
Mr. Catfish, if you could throw the episode number down on that one. The unusual relationship between Blucifer and Lilith.
He also he ate shrimp. I would put shrimp in there, and he would eat them as long as they were small shrimp.
Once like the ghost shrimp.
Right, ghost shrimp. Once they got to a certain size, he wouldn't touch them, and they lived. So if they lived that long, they're still in the tank. There's a couple of them. Mm-hmm. And weirdly, he didn't like shrimp pellets, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, because most crayfish, from what I understand, love shrimp pellets or any kind of different type thing like that. No, he was very picky. But they eat pretty much their bottom feeders, so they eat whatever's on the bottom. Like again, algae wafers, the food that falls, random fish. They, like I said, they will try to eat the ghost shrimp if they're small enough. Once they get to a certain size, he didn't mess with them anymore for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, they'll go after the guppies, but not a large fish.
Yeah, but I think the guppies were just stupid enough to go slow and rest by him because they didn't know at the beginning that, oh my God, this thing wants to eat us. Because they'd probably never seen him before or seen something like him. Because they were probably bred in a captivity and they've never seen him. Right. Once they realized he was a threat, they were much more cautious around him, and they didn't swim around him. They didn't do any of that. So, but they do, again, they molt as they grow. So everything like the outside.
Yeah, what is
they have to have. Oh, okay. I was going to look. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you have to have a cave also of some type. They have to be able to hide. They're big on hiding. When they molt, basically the carapace falls off. Like
the shell
falls off.
Not the whole shell, just the outer layer.
The outer layer, the blue layer, would fall off, and you see like his claws would fall off, and he'd grow new claws, and so he'd hide for a couple of days, and then he'd come out and he'd have new claws, and you'd find the claws in his cave. And it was like in little pieces of him would fall off independently. Like the little carapace was not one big piece. It didn't fall off like a snake skin. It was like little tiny pieces of it would fall off at a time as he grew. So it wasn't a molt like, oh wow, everything fell off. It was like, you'd lose one claw, and then you'd lose another claw, and then you'd find a little piece of his carapace somewhere.
Kind of like leprosy fish.
Yeah, leprosy fish. But then it would grow back, and he would look absolutely gorgeous, and he would have all this nice blue, dark blue again, and he'd have grown an inch or not an inch, but he was probably about 2 inches, no, maybe not 2, maybe 1 foot 1 inch when he died, maybe a little bigger than that. I mean, just his body. Not, I'm talking about the claws, just the body, because he was about that big when he passed.
Okay, so about 3 inches.
Yeah, not that big. I'm not good with measurements.
Yeah.
Like a guy, 12 inches. Sorry.
About 3 inches.
About 3 inches. So he was relatively large when he passed. He wasn't a small little, he was pretty small when we got him. He was pretty young, well-ish. But no, if you have any questions about them, I don't even know what to say about him. I was actually really sad when it happened. Really didn't want to do this episode. She made me.
Yeah.
She's mean.
Well, it's just because we never did talk about the what it was like to have a crayfish.
Right. It is a unique experience. He did have a personality. Which is unusual for me because I really play with the smaller fish, and the smaller fish don't have a lot of individual personality. They're cute to look at, but they really don't.
They're all schooling.
Most of them don't really. I mean, there was a few that stood out, but most of them really didn't. But he had a personality. He would do stuff like when he fell in love with Lilith, or did whatever. I don't know if it was a stalking type bitch. I'm not really sure about that Lilith thing. But when he
was feeding her.
He was feeding her. He was feeding her. It was the cutest damn thing you've ever seen.
I don't know what that is.
He definitely never fed Edsel. He didn't let him and Edsel had a hate relationship. There was like hatred there. He hated Edsel. He hated the fact that Edsel was bigger than him. Mm-hmm. He hated Edsel being in his tank, which I think was more of a dominance type thing. He wanted the tank for himself. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep in mind that if he's in there with any kind of aggressive fish, they're probably going to fight, and he's either going to kill them or they're going to kill them. One of them's going to kill the other, because they're a dominant type thing. And
I mean, we took Edsel out because the Pleco would basically ram him.
Yeah.
I mean, Edsel's an armored. He's a
rhino croc Pleco. So neither one of us can say that.
Yeah.
Apparently.
But we've seen the other rhino crocs ram other fish.
Right. We never caught him doing it to Blucifer, but Blucifer changed attitudes within a day.
Yeah.
For about a couple of weeks, he would stalk him and mess with him, and then all of a sudden one day Blucifer didn't go near him, and then he would start hanging in the cave whenever Edsel was moving around. Mm-hmm. And I realized that, we kind of figured that might have been what had happened, and we just missed the fun of it.
Which would have been hysterical.
Right. It would have been great to get on film, but when we took him out, Blucifer came back to himself. So they were very active, they're very nosy, they're very, like I said, they climb on things, so you have to kind of be careful, you have to have a good lid. They do like a variety of foods, fish, if they can get them, they will catch. You can't get, I wanted to get one of those, it was a type of loach, but it was a really pretty loach with this, with a swimmy tail, and we were like, no, that's just waving a red flag.
You can now, but
I can't now, but that was like a red flag for him. He would have. It was very slow moving.
You would have had a pieces of loach everywhere.
Yeah. So we couldn't take a chance with that, but. So you got to kind of keep in mind what you're buying with him. I mean, you don't want to have a necessarily really super aggressive fish with him, and you don't want to have slow-moving fish. I mean, Daniel's would have been fine.
Yeah.
He would have never caught them. But Corey's were pretty smart. They figured out really quick they can get away from him, even if they're bottom feeders, so they never had a problem with him.
The tetras seem to be doing
okay. The tetras did okay. The guppies did okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't put something like a beta or something slow moving like that. He would have gotten it.
Yeah, he would have gotten it. Betas might be a good idea anyway because they chase things they're aggressive, and so they chase things that are bright colors.
So no angelfish,
so no
rams, and no cichlids. Nothing that's going to be aggressive.
Right, because
that's asking for it.
Yeah, that's just going to be a fight, and one of them's going to lose, and it's going to be ugly either way. Mm-hmm. But they're interesting. So I mean, if you have one and you'd like to tell us about yours, if you're, we'd love to hear about it. Like, subscribe, share, comment below. Mm-hmm. Buy some stuff from our store.
Yeah.
I have a shirt on.
I don't.
I don't.
my
in honor of Blucifer, I don't do people. I don't do people. Which he didn't. He didn't like people. He did not like if I put my hand in there. He was not a friendly, happy thing.
No.
He would try to kill me. So I put my hand in a couple of times to do things, and he would come out of his cave and come at me. So I had to kind of watch.
You had to tase him.
I had to watch at all times to make sure he didn't decide he wanted to just come at me when I wasn't paying attention. I had to watch and know where he was. Mm-hmm. If I had my hand, I mean, yes, it's a big tank, it's 55 gallons, so I had plenty of room to move around. He didn't chase after me, but he would stalk my hand. Mm-hmm. If I was in there cleaning something up, or if I was doing the suctioning, he would chase the suction thing around. So I'd have to push him away with it. But they are unique. It was very interesting. I enjoyed him. I don't know that I'll get another one anytime soon, only because I want to try to get a couple different types of fish. So some of them I couldn't have with him in the tank.
So you need to get a second aquarium if you want to.
Yeah, right. We don't have room for a second aquarium. Or I don't have room for a second.
Not in your room.
No, not right now.
We have plenty of room.
We have plenty, not in my room. But yeah, so maybe someday we will. But it's not a rush type thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those people that gets the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Like that. But he was interesting. He was fun. Mm-hmm. We'd love to hear your comments about if you have one or if you have several. If you have several in a tank or one in a tank.
If you have several in a tank, we'd like to know how is that going for you.
Right, yeah, because I mean the ones I've seen, it didn't go well for any length of time. I was really instructed that if you had a 55, you could have two. Mm-hmm. But if you have anything smaller than 55, they don't even recommend two, just one. So like a 20 or a 30, they don't recommend more than. It's like they want it, at least have a 20-gallon by itself. Mm-hmm. Is what I was always told by several different fish people.
Yeah.
So, but if you have any, comments, like, subscribe, share below. We'd love to hear from you. And I don't even know what else to say about him. It makes me sad just talking about him. I'm like, she's making me. She's very mean.
I'm not being mean.
Mean. I'm very sad again. I'm very sad again. I should have been drinking while we talked about him. Then I would have been better. We forgot.
We forgot to drink. Imagine that, guys.
Imagine that. Well, I wasn't going to do this episode.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, we gotta do the Blucifer." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, okay. What else are we gonna talk about?" I was trying to change the subject.
Yeah, but it's just more along the lines of we had a type of fish that she had a lot of experience with that we can share the information with you guys, which is the whole point.
And if you have any questions about them, by all means, ask me. I mean, I did have him for 2 years, so I got kind of used to him, so it was kind of fun. And I do know a little bit about him. Not everything. I'm not book learned. I don't book learn. I'm not book learned about him, but
that's what I do. I have to look everything.
Yeah, I have practical experience.
Or Garrett.
Garrett looks everything up for us, for me. But we. Well, I guess that's it. So very sad now again. Thanks.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so if you can also leave comments to cheer Sandy up because I was this evil person that made her do this episode.
Yes.
But I just felt that it was important that you guys would get to learn a little bit about this particular fish that we had, and you've seen us talk about Blucifer forever.
Right.
So, in case you wonder why we stopped talking about him,
that's why.
Yeah.
But again, like, subscribe, share, comment below. Mm-hmm. We hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah. Bye.